I've been challenged, I've been called callous. I think that if we all decide to uphold this kapu of not showing it, not sharing it, it will die. In like 1974, the Bishop Museum actually said the Lua was a lost art, and it's not. We've all been practicing, but it hasn't been in the public. Now everyone has their practitioners traditionally have what they feel is correct and how to show it. My teacher kind of broke that and came to the United States here, the mainland, and taught non-Hawaiians, women, and those that would probably not be able to train if they were back home. So my job is to make sure it doesn't die. My job, I feel, in this lifetime is to exemplify the powerful foremothers that came before us, that were war chiefs, that were rulers, that worked cooperatively next to their male counterparts. And my goal in this lifetime is to gain the cooperation of the men back home, and to also uplift our women and say that we're more than what we believe that we are. And I like in a lot of indigenous cultures, women have been written out of history. I want us to be remembered, and also to bring up a whole new generation of warrior women to strengthen the masculine, not to take over, but to work cooperatively and actually show the men, what we're capable of doing. We're not a threat. We're also not vacant bodies that are property. We have something to give here. I got some snaps. That's really my goal. Honestly, since my teacher died, it's really clear that it's not just about joint dislocation. It's about becoming whole. That's my message. Thank you for asking.
How old approximately is at least the tradition you practice?
Well, it started off as a healing art, and then the original Kaihewalu Lua was open-handed only. And then as the king wanted to unite the islands, then the weaponry, military grade, came into effect because it was necessary at that time. So the Olōhe, who they were the leaders, strategists, the chiefs relied on them for the strategy, when to start war, well, not to start war, how to start war, and which ways to go about it. Their role changed as the military came onto the scene. So the Olōhe went underground, but the Lua went underground slightly after that, when the queen wasn't the queen. I misspoke. When the display of Lua was a little bit brutal for our visitors, so at that time it was banned from public display. So you're talking, 1892 was the kapu. They think that Hula was birthed 1,000 years post Lua. You'd have to research, I would say. There's different accounts. I can ask my mentor, she would know exactly, she knows everything.
Kristen.
What is one message you would like all of us to take away today?
Not to underestimate your opponent, and to know that you are powerful, that maybe some of the programming that this is more than one answer, I apologize. Just go on and on. That some of the programming that you have in your system that you don't even know that you have, that's running in the background constantly, may be lies. That, you shouldn't make a scene, like for women, you shouldn't, it's not that you go bashing men, that's not what I'm saying, but, use your voice, know that you're powerful, connect with your body, work through the trauma, and lift those up around you. That's what I'm hoping that you get out. And that Lua's pretty brutal. It's a formidable form of combat. That's what I'd really love for you to walk away with. Not like some, keyboard warrior calling it third grade kempo. As you can see, it was clearly for moving down the battlefield. I mean, these strikes were not for sport. These were for finishing it off. Oh my gosh, Aaron, would you please get my weaponry? It's in the black and white. I never take them out of the house. So I brought a Leo Manu and a Ku'e. Just bring it over here. My teacher made these. I never take them out of the house, kind of like my capelet. So these, this one you see all over the place as being the most popular Hawaiian neva or club. This is not for strangulation, but as you can see, this is modeled after the hand. So when you think of chopping someone and bringing them in, you can do that with your hand. I always say, Remove the weapon, can you do the technique with your bare hands? And you better be able to. A technique that you can do standing up, can you do that on the ground? With practice, probably. Think about that. Don't get stuck to one way of training. But this, so modeled after the hand, this pulls it in, right? As you pull in, this slices. So this is facing, we want to do, east and west, so there's not just one way of striking. This is to hit, flip, slice. You see other Lua arts hit with the sharp tooth, I would never. Blasphemy. So, one, slice, hit. Think of filleting. This is what this does. And similarly, you'll see this in the art too, but you won't see it with the pahi. You'll see just like, sharp brass knuckles, right? Same facing, east and west. This Kaihewalu art has a pahi or a knife on the end, usually sharper. Okay, this is just, hold it this way, same, bust, slice, okay, up, poke, hold it this way, gangster style, you can't even see it, right? What? Okay, so this is a beautiful, this weapon, our Olōhe taught us that this was carried by injured warriors, or injured Olōhe, or older warriors. And if there were warriors on the battlefield that were your opponents and they were struggling, they weren't going to make it, but they needed to die, they would use this, because it's not as heavy to carry through the battlefield. So this is the pu'epue. This one's, they're both amazing. I tend to like this one because of the maneuverability, so it's really beautiful. So I brought these to show you today. I almost forgot. Thank you.
As far as the expression, is there a more standardized version, or how does it differ from island to island, from family to family? How drastic is the difference in the expression of the art?
It's hugely drastic. I mean, I would say the more I learn, because we're always in process, right? You never really arrive, and you have to be humble enough to know that you don't know everything, especially in such a beautiful, deep art. And people, and how it gets adulterized, like, throughout time. Some are very simple, some have very few techniques, some are handed down through the family line. Like just for instance, other lineages, they start with a 90-degree and their arms down, that they're completely open. But that was more of a welcoming, like I'm ready for you. And it's powerful. We don't start that way. We start in the bow and arrow that you saw, which is more modern. So my teacher absolutely filled in the gaps. It's not all ancient. He has added things and made it more formidable for today's fighters and the movements of today. MMA was birthed, right? Beautiful tackle technique that he does. I don't think we had that in the Kaihewalu Lua, the ancient times. So it varies, and unless you know the other lineages, you can't really speak to it except for the stuff you see. And there's not much out there, like you pointed out. Most want to keep that within their group. But I mean, it's extremely island to island and family to family and group to group. And hopefully one day not all of us kumbaya can get together, but some of us can work together, and further our young ones and those coming up in the generations.
Moving forward, where would you want to see the art expand? Like, do you want it to be more commonplace? Like, to what degree? Like,
No, not necessarily. I think that it's not an art like you can storefront it and commercialize it. There's the issue of insurance, safety, right? We're more that way. I think my generation was probably the last one that was garage training where you could smell dried blood outside. Do you know what I mean? It was different. You didn't really, like I have insurance. I have to have insurance. It's just the way it goes, So I don't think that this is an art, unless you're going to embrace the lomi, which is the massage, the hula, which is the movement, non-contact, the lapa'au, the medicine of it, of healing, the woodworking aspect, understanding the hula and nature in which you're expressing through your movements. I think it's all the same energy, just your intent shifts, and unless one dedicates themselves to a life of this, they should not have the right to hold any weapons, learn any weapons, unless they're they're of good character, and that really is what it's about. It's not about, you know, I have a blue belt, I have a black belt. You know, it's like a college degree. We're here at UCLA. You know, your college degree is an indication to your employer that you know certain things, right? But in today's world, you have a black belt, but you can buy that online now, right? With some places, your lineage is extremely important and the time you put in. This you can't learn online. You have to go through it. You have to break your rib cage, get 3 concussions, break every toe, every finger, and have a hematoma and a fractured hip. That's just some of my injuries in the last 24 years. So unless, you know, you dedicate yourself to this life, it's probably not going to be storefront, and shouldn't, in my opinion. I would never own a storefront that teaches Hula.
Kumu, for me, my 25 years experience, that was one of the best examples of balancing, you know, strength and power and grace and beauty together. How do you apply that to the rest of your life, maybe in your legal career or your relationships? How does that weave into the rest of your life?
Well, I wasn't this graceful before. I've had my years of being pretty toxic, honestly. My training changed me. My life experiences, like all of us, you know, if we don't learn it first time, we'll come back around. I serve as a mediator, so I'm able to see both sides. I was the only female in the group, so I couldn't be feminine, which made me want to be even more feminine. I love being a woman. I love showing power through movements. I love, like, if it was a dude, I was a dude. Just say hypothetically I was a dude and we just went through this whole course, you'd be like, oh, he's cool. Yeah, he's pretty cool. But because I'm a woman, I have long hair, and, you know, you're like, what? You know, it's kind of like unnerving because women don't come out here like this. It's more of a Disney self-defense type of thing, right? I mean, this is what we're used to. Don't be yourself. Don't do too much. Don't make anyone feel uncomfortable. And while there's a balance there, we're all in our alter egos all the time. I'm in my alter ego when I go to work. They don't know I do this at all. They have no idea. I'm just a legal nerdy girl at work, you know? Literally bun, curls, and heels. This is totally covered up. They have no idea I have this hawk on my back. Like, they have no idea. And so it's just better that way because life is peaceful, but I'm not hiding who I am. It's just there's a balance, and we need to know what the world can handle and how much they can handle. And I think that's where we really get the balance, is that wisdom of, is the world ready to see this? You know, and unfortunately we live in a culture where you can either be beauty, or you can either be brawn, or you can either be brains. Now, God forbid you're all 3 or 2, maybe like, what? You know, you get no comprende, right? I mean, there's just no way. So it's just knowing your audience at all times, I think, and shooting for balance. I want that balance. I want to have as much control over myself and to be connected with my body as much as possible. And I can't be really connected with my students or the world if I can't do that, if I'm running from something. And I think the more that we dig up the stuff that we kind of suppress, our physical power comes forward. It's really amazing how those are completely tied together. I'm grateful for my training. There was a woman in ancient times, her name was Kaihewalu. She was the only woman that was able to breach the gender kapu, which means she could kind of go into the male world and come back of the sacrifices and the things that the men were responsible for in ancient times, which was Mother Earth, Haumea. She would wear a long white malo, a malo nui, and she would be able to enter temples, and they thought, well, wow, God, you know, she doesn't get struck down, so, you know, she can interchange like that. She was the ruler. She was swept away at 6 from Hawaii. She was moved to Hawaii Island. She was taught in physics and metaphysics and science and philosophy and war strategy and you name it, agriculture, architecture, and she was returned home at 16 to Hawaii Island, so it was opposite, and to rule her people. Like, there are some elders that believe that I might be a version of that today, and if that's true, and if I can do that and bring men and women together, the masculine and the feminine, then I'm so honored to step in that role today and do it regardless of the criticism, regardless of how some of my fellow Lua brothers may feel about it here or back home. The elders are in support. They say the world is my dojo. So I will rest in that. I will rest in their support, and I will continue to do what I can. But I always check it. Is this where you want me? Use me, prepare me. If Olōhe was standing right here, what would he say? he'd say, don't listen to her. He was a joker, right? Yeah, no, I mean, that's how I check myself. You know, what would he say if he was right here? And so I know he would be pleased with all of you tonight, how you put your best foot forward and listened and really tried. Hula is not easy. You know, the man's going one way, the woman's going another way, but you did so great, and I'm really grateful that you made the time to come tonight. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Kumu.